So for today's class, I want to just do a real soft restorative class for sleep. So today you're going to need a blanket, you're going to need 2 blocks and a bolster, and then just your yoga mat. So I want to start with just a little bit different breath work. So we're going to work into our alternative nostril breathing. So this one is I take my middle finger and I just place it right between the eyebrows. And then I'm going to take my thumb and I'm just going to plug my nose on my right side. And just take a moment to breathe fully with a nice big inhale. And keeping that nose plugged, you're going to exhale fully, releasing all the stale air. And then you're going to switch sides with your ring finger. You're going to plug the left side, taking a nice big breath in. Fully exhaling. And just switching back and forth. I want to do this at least 7 times. So at that 7th time, we'll go ahead and release. So just take a moment to breathe here. And then as you guys finish up, I want to kind of explain the benefits of that, and especially when it comes to sleep. So what happens most of the time is your brain starts going, right? You have all these thoughts and it's really hard to slow those thoughts down. So what you want to do, especially with that, is you're going to plug the right side. And by doing that, you're slowing down the left hemisphere of the brain. So it's kind of that opposite. And that's going to kind of quiet the mind, right? It's going to shift you into the right side, or more creative side. This kind of helps release some of our stress from the day. It helps relax the mind. It helps relax the body. So vice versa, if you're in a point where you are feeling fatigued, you're tired, you can't seem to get motivation, you want to do the opposite. You're going to plug the left side, which is going to shut down the right, and it's going to get you into the more active, alert brain. So just from here, whenever you're done, we're just going to come back, just taking a nice big breath in, releasing fully. We're just going to start with those neck stretches. So pushing those shoulders down away from the ears. We're going to bring our ear to our shoulder, taking a nice big breath in. And on that exhale, slowly tucking all the way to the other side. And inhale, hold. Exhale, releasing. And then from here, you're just going to go at your own pace. Just taking a moment to relax those shoulders. Feeling that gentle stretch in the neck. And just using that breath to really complement those movements. And then go ahead and finish up wherever you're at. We're just going to come right back to center. This next one, we're going to transition onto our belly. So I want to grab our bolster. And this is where this bolster is going to go right in the center of our mat here. I want it lengthwise going across. And then I'm going to take that blanket, that folded blanket, and I'm just going to place it in front of me here. And this one, we're going to come down nice and slow. I want those hips right across the center of our bolster. And we're just going to release down. So this one I want to hold for at least, let's do 3 minutes. And just set that timer real quick. And at that halfway mark, I'm going to let you know, and we're just going to gently lift up, and we're just going to switch our head to the other side. So just take a moment to release, to relax, to soften in the facial muscles, to really soften in the shoulders, releasing in the spine. Relaxing those legs and just taking a moment to be quiet in the body. Focusing on your breath or focusing on your music. And then we're just at that halfway mark. So just gently lift up. We're going to switch that head to the other side. Continuing to fully relax in those facial muscles. To soften in the shoulders. Feeling that lengthening in the spine. And then just that release all the way down to the toes. And then from here, we're just going to gently transition, just coming up nice and slow, coming all the way onto our knees. From here, we're going to transition into our child's pose. So I'm just going to take that bolster. I'm going to change it. So it's going to go lengthwise right across to my mat here. I want it towards the top of our mat. This one, kind of depending on what your preference is, I like to put a block under my bolster just to lift me a little bit into our supported child's pose. So I'm just going to place it on the short end. And I'm just going to put it right at the end of my bolster. This one too, depending on your floor, you can always lay out a blanket if you're on kind of a hard floor for those knees. So from here, we're just going to come in with those nice wide knees. I want just a little bit of an overlap over that bolster. And then we're just gonna lengthen it as tall as we can in the spine and just gently release over. And just take a moment to kind of snuggle in if you need to. Slowly releasing. This one I want to do for 4 minutes. So again, we're just going to do the same at that halfway mark. We're just going to lift our head and gently move it to the other side. So just take a moment here to release in the spine, to soften in the forehead and the eyes, the cheeks, the tongue, the jaw. Really softening those shoulders. And just taking a moment again to be quiet in the body, focusing on your breath or focusing on your music. And then from here is just that real gentle lift. And we're just going to move that head right to the other side, releasing down. Continuing to really relax the shoulders here, releasing the spine. Just using that breath, that exhale to release all that tension. And then from here, just slowly bringing that awareness back, wiggling those fingers, wiggling those toes, and we're just going to gently transition back up. Just moving slow, taking your time. This next one, we're going to kind of do just a little bit different here. We're going to go into a restorative frog pose. So I'm going to take that bolster and I'm going to move it towards the the bottom of my mat. This is where our feet are just going to gently go right over the edge of that. From here, I want to take my blanket. This one, I'm going to open it up. And what I want to do here is I'm just going to make a couple folds. You don't want too much. So I'm just going to fold it. Let's see, about 3 times. Mine was just 3 folds here. And I'm just going to place this right towards the center. So this is where our hips, it's going to go right across those hips. And then we're going to release down. So this is almost like a cobbler's pose. I want those wide knees, as wide that's comfortable. And we're just going to gently come down, hips on top of that blanket for just a little bit of extra support. And then your feet are just going to lift right on the edge of that bolster. And then we're just going to release here. So let's do 2 minutes again on each side. So at that halfway mark, we're just going to lift up and we're going to move that head to the other side. So just take a moment again to release here, to soften in the forehead and the eyes, the cheeks, the tongue, the jaw. Taking a nice big breath here and just slowly releasing with that exhale. Softening in the shoulders, softening in the spine, just gently releasing those hips. And then we're just going to gently pick that head up and move it to the other side. Continuing to release whatever tension you might be holding on to. It's just so interesting how you can feel that tension creeping back into the shoulders or into the lower back. And if you pay attention, it's usually wherever you're holding tension throughout the day. So this restorative yoga is such a great way just to recognize that tension and allow it to release as much as you can. And then from here, just slowly wiggling those fingers, wiggling those toes. And we're just going to gently come back up here. So bringing those legs together, bending on those knees. This next one, we're going to go into a supported forward bend. So we don't need our blanket. We can push that blanket off to the side. This one, we're going to take that bolster. And we're just going to come around here, extending those legs out. And then I'm just going to put my bolster kind of right into my lap here. And then I'm scooching, right? I want those sitting bones behind you. So you get that little stretch in that lower back. And we're just going to gently fold forward, just going as far forward that's comfortable. And then this one too, just depending on that level of flexibility, you can take that blanket. Hopefully you didn't push it too far. And maybe even fold it up a little bit, just so you can really release if you need to here. So just using it for a little bit extra. And for me, I'm pretty flexible. So I like to grab my toes and then just really release here in the spine, releasing those shoulders. Focusing on that breath, really focusing on quieting the mind here. Relaxing as much as you can, releasing that tension out with the breath. This one I want to do for a total of 4 minutes. So I'll let you know at that halfway mark. So we're just at that 2-minute mark. We have 2 more minutes here. So really just take a moment to release, to check in. Letting go of any tension in the shoulders and the neck and the jaw, releasing all the facial muscles. And just slowly trying to kind of lengthen in those hamstrings. And then from here, just slowly releasing those toes. If you were grabbing onto them, just start to wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes. And we're just going to gently come back up. From here, we're going to kind of work the opposite in a way. So I want to go into a little bit of a restorative plow pose is where we're going to head. So I want to first take that blanket. We're going to undo it just enough to kind of get into a square. And I'm going to place that blanket right across the top here. And then this is where you want to leave a little bit of room for your head. So the top of the blanket should go right at the top of those shoulders. From here, we're going to grab that bolster. I want it just to go across again towards the center of our mat. And gosh, depending on your spine, I'm pretty short here. So I'm going to have a little bit of an overlap between my bolster and my blanket. And I'm actually going to move this down just a little bit. So this one, what we want to do is we want to start on top of our bolster. We're just going to sit on the center of it. And we're going to come down nice and slow and controlled. So I'm going to tuck that chin, engage my core, and just gently release down here. And hopefully you measured this right so that blanket should end right where those shoulders end. And then this one, we're just going to lift those legs. And what I want to do, I feel like I'm just barely on the edge of my bolster. So I'm going to lift this up and just move it so I feel a little bit more supported. And this one, we're just going to have a little bit of fun here. So I want to just take a moment to get nice and stacked. Kind of drawing those ankles on top of those knees on top of those hips. And just take a moment to release here. Just soften in the spine, especially softening in the heart, softening in the shoulders, and just feeling that transition in energy. Releasing the tension as much as you can in the upper body. And then from here is that supported plow pose. So I'm just going to gently bring my legs forward, get a nice strong tuck in that chin. So you may even want to lift that head just enough to tuck it. And then depending on that level of flexibility, we can grab, even below the knees, right? That's going to bring those legs a little bit closer, or taking it above the knees, maybe to the ankles or to the toes. And we're just going to bring those legs as far forward that's comfortable. Just taking a moment to relax in the shoulders. So strong grip with those hands and soft shoulders. And again, making sure you have a nice big tuck in the chin. And just softening the belly. And just taking a moment here to breathe. We're not going to hold it for very long. Just enough to get the benefits. And then from here, we're going to gently release, bringing those feet all the way out, trying to get as stacked as you can here. And just take a moment to notice the transition in the body, feeling that energy flowing just a little bit differently. And then from here, I want to work into either that shoelace pose or just a simple cross-legged. So depending on your flexibility, you can just cross at the shins and grab those toes. And we're just going to kind of tuck in again here. Just enough to release in that back, to release in the shoulders. This one, if you want a little extra for those hips as well, you can cross a lot deeper here in the thighs. And then bending those knees, we should kind of stack those knees, and then we're going to grab those feet and just come in. This gets deep, deep, deep into that IT band. So kind of just take a moment. We're working in sleep, so you want to do what's most comfortable for you. Just to be quiet here in the body, to relax the belly, releasing the spine, the shoulders, relaxing in the facial muscles. And then we're going to go ahead and come up again, kind of paying attention to which leg is in front. Stacking, just noticing that transition in energy. And then we're going to do the same on the other side. So either crossing at the shins or taking it a little bit deeper in those thighs. And then just grabbing onto those feet and bringing those knees in. Taking a moment to relax in the facial muscles, relax in the neck, right? Making sure you have a strong lengthen tuck in the chin. Softening the shoulders, the spine. And then slowly releasing, lengthening those legs. This next one, we're just going to again take a moment to feel that transition, to stack those legs, to soften in the upper body. And then we're just going to gently bring those feet down nice and strong, just into a supported bridge pose. So I want your feet hip distance apart here. And we're just going to, again, release. If you need to, kind of lift that head, strong tuck in the chin. And then just really soften in the belly here, softening in the spine. You're going to feel a gentle lengthening here. Relaxing the shoulders. This one I want to hold. Let's do 4 minutes for this one. So I'm going to set that timer. And then at that 4-minute mark, well, I'll let you know at that 2-minute mark when we're halfway through here. So just kind of settle in, releasing, relaxing, quieting the mind, focusing on your breath or focusing on the music. So we're just at that halfway mark. We're just going to hold it for just a little longer. So I actually want to do 1 more minute, and then we're going to just real subtly transition to a different pose here. So just hang on for just a minute more, continuing to release, continuing to relax, to focus on your breath or focus on your music. And then from here is where I just want to lengthen in those legs. So extending those legs out. If this is too much for your spine here, and you can even just come in and just a real subtle kind of cobbler's pose, right? Just bringing the soles of the feet together, or just kind of keeping those knees bent and just releasing out. So I want you to do whatever feels good here. Just taking a moment to release in those hips, to soften in those legs. We're just going to gently allow your feet to fold open. This one we're just going to hold for the remaining time here. So just about 30 seconds. And then just slowly bringing your awareness back. From here, I'm just gonna plant those feet nice and strong. I'm gonna use those elbows. I'm lifting up those hips. I'm just gonna slide this bolster out from underneath me. And then we're just gonna slowly roll onto our side here. And I wanted to stay here for just a moment, just to feel that transition and energy in the spine. So take a moment to release, to relax. I'm going to even grab this blanket out from underneath me and use that for a little bit of a pillow here. And then from here, we're just going to slowly come back up, just taking your time. We're going to transition onto our knees. From here, I want to work into our reclined cobbler's pose. So I want to have a little bit of an elevation here in my bolster. So we're going to grab that bolster. I'm going to place it towards the top of my mat. This is where it's going to just go lengthwise. I'm going to take just one. Let's do two. I want both those blocks for this one. So I'm going to take one block and I'm going to put it on the tall end. So I'm going to stack it and I'm just going to place it towards the end of my bolster. And I'm just going to slide this little block on its short end right next to it for just a little bit of extra support here. And then this one, we're going to use that blanket as well. So I'm just going to kind of grab that blanket. And since we're using a reclined bolster, I just want to fold my blanket and I'm just going to kind of throw it over the top here for just a little bit more of an incline. So we're going to come around, getting nice and flush next to that bolster. I'm going to bring my feet together, the soles of the feet together into our cobbler's pose. And then we're just going to gently release back here. And hopefully, I feel like my bolster's slipping, but it stayed. So I'm just going to pull this underneath my head. So this one's just going to go right underneath the head here. So making sure you don't have that crease in your shoulders. And this one, let's go ahead and hold it for 5 minutes. So just taking a moment to really softening in the forehead. and the eyes, the cheeks, the tongue, the jaw. Taking a nice big breath in. And on that exhale, slowly releasing those shoulders, allowing them just to gently fold over that bolster. Relaxing in the elbows, releasing in the forearms and the wrists, all the way to the fingertips. Really allowing those arms to sink deep. And then taking a moment again just to soften in the heart, to soften in the spine, one vertebrae at a time. Gently releasing the rib cage, softening in the belly, softening all the way down into those hips. And then releasing those legs, just feeling that gentle pressure between the toes here. And then from here, I want you really just to focus on those deep belly breaths. So feeling the rib cage expand on the inhale and fall on the exhale. And again, just being quiet here in the mind and the body, and just focusing on your breath or on your music. And then we're just at that halfway mark. So just take a moment, releasing the tension in the neck and the shoulders, even in the forehead, right? It's just so interesting as you start to feel that tension creep back in. So try to release it on those nice big breaths, releasing all that tension out with the exhale. And then from here, we'll slowly get that awareness back, wiggling those fingers, wiggling those toes. And I'm just going to actually come up here. So just gently coming up, taking your time. This next one, we're going to do kind of a savasana, but I want to work with our blanket and our bolster. So we can take those blocks and put them off to the side. On this one, we're going to have to kind of roll that blanket. But first I want to take that bolster and I'm going to place it kind of towards the center here. So this is one where we're just going to bring our knees over for a little bit of support for those knees. And I'm going to take that blanket, I'm going to open it up so it's in that nice big rectangle, and I'm going to roll it up this time. We're going to roll up the side of it. So we kind of get this nice long narrow support with that blanket. And then this one is going to go right across to the shoulders here. So right across that bra line. So our shoulder blades are going to be at the top of that blanket. So we're going to go ahead. I think the best way to get into this is kind of just sit in the middle, bring those legs across, and then I can see that I'm way high here. So I'm going to scooch down just enough. So as I come down, hopefully, nope, that blanket is right where you need it. So you may have to adjust here. And I overshot it. So you want just that little lift here in the heart, and those arms are going to go right along the top of that blanket. And then bringing those legs out. This one, you're going to be right on the back of those cowlicks here. So kind of that nice big stretch in the front of the body, really opening up the heart. This one, we're only going to hold for 3 minutes. So I want to set that timer. And then just take a moment to release as much as you can. This is such a good one to kind of open up the shoulders, even stretching in the diaphragm. So releasing here in the forehead and the eyes, the cheeks, the tongue, the jaw. Softening in the shoulders. Trying as much as you can here. I can feel so much tension in my lower spine. So releasing your belly, releasing the spine, and just feeling that nice big stretch here. And then relaxing those legs all the way down to the toes. Then from here, just slowly bring that awareness back, kind of wiggling those fingers, wiggling those toes. This one, I'm just gonna lift up those legs just enough to kind of kick that bolster out from underneath me. And then gently rolling onto your side, I'm gonna pull that blanket out from underneath. And then this one, I want to come into a sideline savasana. So we're just going to grab that bolster now and place it right between those legs here. Keeping just a little bend in those knees. You can grab that blanket again for a little bit of extra pillow. And we're just going to release in this side stretch. So this one, I think, let's actually just end here. So I want to do, let's do 3 minutes, 3 minutes on each side. And at that 3-minute mark, we'll go ahead and we'll just switch right to the other side. So just, again, take a moment to be quiet in the body, to release that tension in the spine, to soften in the legs, to focus here on your breath, to try to keep your thoughts from wandering. And then from here, just bringing your awareness back, kind of wiggling those fingers, wiggling those toes. And we're just going to transition right into the other side. So you guys can just kind of lift those legs. We're just going to bring that bolster to the other side. I'm actually going to switch around here. So I'm facing you. And again, just take a moment to just be quiet, to release any tension you may be holding on to from your day. Relaxing the spine here, releasing in the hips and the legs. And just taking a moment just to be quiet, to just focus on your breath or focus on your music. And then from here, just slowly bringing that awareness back, wiggling those fingers, wiggling those toes. We can go ahead and move that bolster out from underneath us. And I want to work our way back up to that seated position. I want to do one more just with our breath work here for just a moment. So coming up nice and slow, working your way back into that seated position. And I want to go back to that alternative nostril breathing, but this time we're just going to hold on that right side. So plug your right side and we're just going to take a moment. I want 3 nice big breaths. So fully inhaling, fully exhaling, keeping your right nostril plugged. And then from there, we really activated our right side. So that's what I want you to do right before bed. That's going to help you really release, to relax, to stop those thoughts from wandering. Thank you guys so much for joining, and namaste.